Well, it's summer break, so that means it's time to go out and see things. Can you guess where I'm going this time? Ever since my first time I took a road trip to my grandma's house on my own accord, I have been dying to get back to Maryland and see more CSX. During my short visit I made after the Christmas of 2024, I made huge advancements in the science and technology of watching trains, and I met a few interesting people at the same time. So on June 30th, I got in the old Saturn and drove myself out there again. I actually made a video on the experience of driving my 1999 Saturn halfway across the country on my other channel. I recommend you watch my video about the last time I went to Maryland, as it discusses the route I took and the particular rail lines I focused on. It seems almost every video starts with the Union Pacific Sioux City subdivision. Here I am stumbling upon a local just south of Sioux City being led by a GP60. Somehow I managed to lose it, so this is the only footage we get. About an hour later, I saw an intermodal leaving Missouri Valley and heading towards California Junction. I got ahead of it and set up on the Blair subdivision. It was several hours before I stopped for more rail activity. I wanted to go to the AmTrak station in Galesburg, Illinois, which I did not see last time I was here. Not only did I find out that this is the perfect place for watching trains, but it turns out they have a whole outdoor museum set up next to the station. On static display is a rare extended cab GP50. These were a product of the Burlington Northern, and only 5 were ever made. I remember seeing this exact same engine in an old Southern Plains Railfan video, so I'm glad it got preserved. I showed up just before 5 p.m., and there were already a couple of AmTraks due to arrive soon. With all the driving I had been doing all day, it was nice to get out of the car for an hour and see some activity. The first train was AmTrak number 5, the California Zephyr, being led by 2 P-42 DCs. Next was AmTrak number 3, the Southwest Chief, also with 2 P-42 DCs. While the Southwest Chief was loading passengers, a short BNSF freight passed by. Here we are, back again, at Point of Rocks on my first day of visiting. Starting the morning is the first ever train I have ever seen on the Old Main subdivision, local L128 with a GP39-2 and a single tanker car. One of my favorite things about being out east is that the Heritage Unit app becomes extremely useful. I found out that intermodal I-135, which I have seen previously, has CSX 9004 as mid-DPU. That ended up taking a while to show up, so in the meantime, here's a mystery train with 2 ETs. It's that time of day for Amtrak 41 to come rolling through. I wanted a change of scenery, so I went to Brunswick, Maryland, which is the next town up the line and is the location of CSX's Brunswick Yard. Finally, I-135 reached Brunswick. So 9004 confused me at first. It was originally built as a C44-8W, and I thought that the -8s never got as high as 4,400 horsepower. As it turns out, these were built for CSX as sort of a -9 pre-production unit. They have the technology of a -9, but have a -8 body. They have all since been derated to 4,000 horsepower. Just as I was about to leave Brunswick, I heard Rock Train B451 on the radio and stuck around to see it. Leading is an SD70 Mac. Later in the evening, I returned to Point of Rocks and saw Manifest M408 with two YN2 AC4400s. Since my visit earlier this year, Heritage Units now recognizes CSX YN2 paint as being something to keep track of, presumably because the scheme is becoming less common. The same treatment has been given to the BNSF Heritage 1 scheme. For the first time, except for that one time in 2022, I was able to observe a few MARC trains. This is MARC 879. The MARC AM train usually comes to Point of Rocks at the crack of dawn, way too early for me. But the PM trains come between about 5 and 8 in the evening. Here is AmTrak 40, the westbound counterpart to AmTrak 41. Next is an eastbound trash train, which thoroughly stank the place up as it passed by. Not too long after that was B459 carrying empty rock hoppers, and you'll never guess what was in the consist. That's right, another SD70 Mac. Following that was MARC 881. On the 4th of July, I set out to see some Norfolk Southern trains. This is starting to become a yearly tradition, with the exception of 2024. The nearest NS line is the Hagerstown district, and I chose this old train station in Sharpsburg as my location. The radio reception around here is pretty bad, but I was able to find out that our first train is NS 274, a northbound intermodal. 2 hours later, there was a southbound and I was unable to get the train symbol. The following day, I caught CSX I-136 at Point of Rocks. This would be the third SD70 Mac. The day after that was a Sunday. Local rail fans, including Jimbo Trains, who I met in the last video, like to gather at Point of Rocks in the morning. The first is I-195, which I have been told is uncommon to see going down this part of the line. It was a very slow day, and the only other train I saw that morning was AmTrak 41. So the Delmarva Peninsula. I have been fascinated by this piece of land since I first visited in 2022. At that time, I caught a glimpse of the Maryland and Delaware Railroad. I revisited in 2023 and saw a few more sights, but ultimately never saw any active trains. I found out earlier this year that the MDDE was to be absorbed by the Delmarva Central Railroad. The DCR is operated by Carload Express and works alongside the MDDE to transport freight in this area. The DCR's favorite hobby seems to be absorbing other railroads on the peninsula, as in 2018 they took over the Bay Coast Railroad, and in 2019 they ate the Delaware Coastline Railroad. I guess it was only a matter of time before they got to the MDDE, which is the longest standing railroad in Delmarva. The MDDE is well known for their continued use of classic Alco RS3 locomotives. The future of these engines is uncertain. Just like the time I went to see the old switchers on the Portland and Western, I figured I'd better get out and catch these Alcos while I can. I was hoping to see some active MDDE trains, but my timing didn't quite work out for that. Here in Federalsburg, Maryland, is the headquarters and main yard for the MDDE. Number 801 had previously been disassembled and stored in the back of the yard. Today I spotted it in the garage with its trucks reinstalled. I was afraid that it was going to be scrapped, so I'm glad to see that they have put it back together. In a video that was released in October of 2024, 801 was seen being pulled out of the yard by one of the Alcos. The description says that 801 has electrical issues. I saw 1203 out back in the yard. These locomotives are rare, not only because they are 70-year-old Alcos, but also because the RS3Ms have been retrofitted with EMD 567B prime movers. Let's just say the Alco 244 engine was not the most reliable thing out there. I went to Massey, Maryland in the hopes that I would still have time to catch the daily job up there. By the time I arrived, the locomotives were just sitting around. Either I missed the job or they always sit around like this. In addition to another Alco, there is number 1823. This is the MDDE's resident GP10, and it has a special veterans paint scheme. It was at this time that I declared a national state of better luck next time and went home. However, I still have one day left of my visit. The following day I caught wind that the Norfolk and Western Heritage Unit was on NS13R, and it was sitting in the yard in Hagerstown. So I went back to Sharpsburg. While I was while I was waiting, NS 289 came out of nowhere. After hours of waiting, 13R finally left the yard and eventually made it to my location. Okay, time to go home. Somewhere in Indiana, I saw a CSX train off the interstate. I caught up with it in Linden, Indiana. This is the Lafayette subdivision. I stay the night in Danville, Illinois, which has a few CSX and NS lines passing through. Usually, I don't have time to watch trains by the time of day I arrive. This go-around, I had a few hours of daylight left, so I went down the line to Catlin, Illinois, where I saw NS 148 on the Lafayette District. And that was the last train I saw on this trip. That's going to be it for this video, so I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.